Hey, this is Bill Hauser, CEO of the S&B team, and in this interview, oh my gosh, that I had with John Assaraf, the leader when it comes to the science of goal achievement, you're gonna learn why most people give up on their goals by January 19th every single year. And it has nothing to do with your personality or anything like that. It has to do with your brain. He's gonna show you how to rewire your brain so that achieving your goals becomes autopilot. You're also gonna learn the number one secret that legendary performers do when compared to their lower performing competition. You're gonna learn the actual neuroscience behind this stuff and your brain's 4-step decision-making process and how to leverage it to achieve your goals. So this interview is amazing. I was honored to interview him. Okay, make sure you hit that subscribe button and comment below with your biggest takeaway so that it creates a mind neural connection. And also hit that like button because it tells YouTube that we're putting out good stuff and it'll show it to more people. I will see you in the interview with the famous John Assaraf. I have looked up to John Assaraf for 8 years, and so it's certainly amazing to have him on right now. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's built multiple, 5 multi-million-dollar companies. He's the CEO of NeuroGym. He's been interviewed on Larry King. He's been on Ellen DeGeneres show, CNN. He's been on all the major networks, and super honored to have him on. What he is trying to wrap his head around and what his mission is, I would say the science of goal achievement, okay? Because it's one thing to set goals. It's another thing to completely rewire your brain to actually achieve them.
Thank you so much, Bill. And hi, everyone. You brought up a really great point, and what I'm going to share today is all based in the latest neuroscience. And I always have my brain in here, and sometimes people think that that's actually more intelligent than what's in my head. But I want everybody to consider this fact. We've tried to replicate the human brain for as long as we've been doing science, 500 years or so. And for over $100 billion, $1 trillion, we've not been able to fully understand it, but more importantly, even replicate it in the form of a computer. So my hallucination is that this biocomputer that we own is worth at least $100 billion. However, most people have never gotten the user's manual for it. So when you're talking about by January the 19th, most people give up on their goals, it's not that the intention for the goal was wrong. It's there is a disconnect between several different parts of the brain, specifically the limbic and the instinctual part of the brain versus what I call as the Einstein part of the brain that chooses the goals. And when we create coherence or harmony or flow between several different parts of our brain, the chances for us to achieve our goals and rewire a part of the brain called the striatum is what is needed in order to go from goal setting to goal achievement, which leads me to exactly what I'm going to talk about today, Bill. So we'll give you some ideas of how do you set goals and then how do you achieve them faster? And I like to say easier, not easy, but easier. And so first question that I always start off with is, do you believe that mindset is what separates the best from the rest? And so, I don't know how much interaction we can have, Bill, but fundamentally, when I work with CEOs, professional athletes, entrepreneurs, it doesn't make a difference. Regardless of how much knowledge or skill or desire they have, if they don't have the right mindset, they don't achieve their goals and dreams. And a lot of times they fall short. And so my question, not only in my own life, is what is the difference that makes the difference? What is it about our human brain, which has incredible potential? What is it that allows us to achieve our goals? And fundamentally, there is a science to achieving goals. Let's understand for just a moment, forget my face, forget my skin, forget my bones, forget all of that stuff. But let's look at your brain and my brain, which 99.9% of all brains work the same. And so if you look at this as an organism within my skull, and you look at a nervous system that it's connected to the brainstem with a parasympathetic part of the system, which is your calm to respond system or network, and a sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight, flight, or freeze system, the number one priority of our brain, whether we're setting goals or something's happening in our external world, is safety and survival above all else. So all incoming information or all thoughts are paralleled processing against this. Is this going to affect my survival or safety. The second most important part of our brain's hierarchy of how it works is, will this thing, will this goal, will this investment, will this tool cause me any pain or discomfort, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, or financially? And I'll share with you in a moment what happens when the answer is yes to either one of those. And it does number 1 and 2 to conserve energy. Why? In case it's got to run away from a saber-toothed tiger if you go back enough years. And then and only then, once 1, 2, and 3 are done, does it focus on, can I gain pleasure, well-being, success from that? So the hierarchy of how this organism makes its decisions is based on these 4 principles. So the question is, what's the difference between setting goals and achieving goals, knowing that we have a variety of different functions of our brain? When we want to achieve goals, there are 2 parts to this equation that have some subparts to it. So setting goals requires conscious decisions using the Einstein part of the brain. So our brain got 35,000 decisions to make a day, 50,000 random thoughts a day. So the first part of the goal achieving process is to gain absolute clarity on your vision of where you want to be at the end of this year, let's say, and what are some tangible, specific objectives or goals that you will achieve in 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, 30 days from now. That's part 1. Clarity is key, and I'll show you what to do with that clarity in just a moment. Number 2, the part of your brain that you use for this is deductive reasoning and imagination. So you choose what you want, and then you've got to activate something called the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. And you've got to ask yourself this question: why must I achieve this goal or these goals? Not why I want to, why I'd like to, why must I? And the reason for this is, you'll see in just a moment, that there are going to be obstacles. And if your why is not bigger than the obstacles, you will succumb to your old habits and behaviors. So you have to invest a little bit of time. You have to invest a little bit of time on coming up with, why must I achieve our goals? We don't achieve goals that we want to achieve. We achieve goals that we must achieve. And many years ago, my first mentor, 40 years ago, I was 19, asked me to list out my goals and my vision for my life. And then he asked me one question that changed my life. He said to me, John, are you interested in achieving those goals, or are you committed? And I looked at him and I said, Mr. Brown was his name. I said, what's the difference? And he says to me, if you're interested, you'll do what's easy and convenient and habitual. He says, if you're committed, you will upgrade your knowledge, you'll upgrade your skills, you'll alter your beliefs, and you'll develop the habits required to achieve those goals. So he said, are you interested? Or are you committed? And I said I was committed. And in that 1 second, he reached out his hand. He said, in that case, I will be your mentor. And that was the beginning of my training on the human brain 40 years ago. And I haven't stopped since, but I'll continue. So you use your inner Einstein to create the vision, the goals, the big why. And then I'll show you something called cognitive priming and inner size, based on my newest book, Inner Size. And that is a way to get your brain primed every single day on your vision, your goals, and your why. And so when you ask yourself, how can I, how will I, why must I, you're activating a part of the brain that is responsible for your vision, your goals, and your why. But more importantly, here's what's actually happening when you focus on this every day. We can actually see in brain scans blood flowing to the Einstein part of the brain and away from the fear, stress, anxiety, uncertainty centers in the brain. We can actually see the ventral tegmental area and the nucleus accumbens releasing the dopamine that's required to activate the motivational center of your brain, which is connected to behavior. So there are things that cause us to move forward, take inspired action, and things that put the brakes on. Now, there's going to be something I'm going to talk about in just a moment around habits, and it takes a certain amount of time to deactivate your habitual patterns and create new habitual patterns. But the thing to keep very, very top of mind is you want to be operating from a motive for action. The motivational circuit is the motive for action circuit. And in the absence of the big why I talked about before, you deactivate the motivational circuit. So let's assume you have a big why, you have the vision, you have a goals, and you are committed to achieving it. Let's assume all those things. What can get in your way? And here is the answer. There's only 4 things that can get in your way. And many of you know that there is the conscious brain that chooses our goals, but there's our subconscious mind, which is operating beneath your level of awareness and doing 97, 98% of all of the habitual things required to conserve energy, the number 3 hierarchy priority of the brain. And so all of these things, like your self-image, self-worth, and self-esteem, are tied to your behavior. So if you have a vision and goal that is bigger than your self-image or self-worth or self-esteem, then you will go and achieve that goal. But if there is a part of you that says, I'm not worthy of this, I don't deserve this, I'm not sure how to achieve this, if there is any disconnect, you will activate that Frankenstein part of your brain, and it will cause self-sabotage, it will cause procrastination, it'll cause anxiety, stress, and it'll cause you not to take action. If you have limiting beliefs, any limiting belief, that you may not be able to achieve it, whether it's around your age, your intelligence, the time frame, the amount of money needed, your brain will cause you to procrastinate and self-sabotage. Now, I want to ask you a question. Were you born with any beliefs? You were born with 100 billion brain cells that then created neural connections, the neural connections that got reinforced around your beliefs, what you believe is possible, what you believe you can achieve, is what goes from conscious activity to subconscious patterns that then run automatically to conserve energy. So you developed a self-image, self-worth, and self-esteem set point. You develop beliefs that are empowering or destructive, and these start to be the operating system of your brain that start to control the 3 networks, the salience network, the executive network, and the default mode network. And then on top of that, let's say you have a vision and goal that you want to achieve and you have a really big why, but beneath the level of conscious awareness, there may be a fear of setting a goal and failing. And failing may in your brain mean that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy, whatever the case is. For some people, failing is devastating. For some people, failing just means they're learning. What if failing means you've been rejected? There are 50 different types of fears that are triggered in your subconscious mind. Fears like failure, fears like disappointing yourself or your loved ones, fears of losing money, fears of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, or rejected, fears of disappointing yourself, your partners, your colleagues, your loved ones if you set the goal and don't achieve it. So all fears are triggered in the subconscious mind that then trigger the neurochemicals of cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, which don't feel really good in our bloodstream. And so what happens when people feel the fear? They actually put the brakes on and don't take the action required. Put your finger right here below your nostrils. And what if you breathed in as slowly as you could? Slow, 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 slow in. And then when you're breathing out through your mouth, you pretend you have a straw in your mouth, and you breathe out as slowly as you can out, and you do that 6 to 10 times. The very act of breathing in deeply, slowly, and breathing out and focusing as if you're breathing out through a straw deactivates the stress, anxiety, uncertainty, panicky centers of the brain, sympathetic nervous system, and activates the calm to respond system in the brain.